Welcome to You Can Do It. Today we're working on a 2 litre VW T5, engine code CCHA. We're removing the Cambelt and water pump and putting a new Cambelt and water pump back on. Rotate this clockwise until you find there's a little, if you look there, there's a little arrow there on that point. You rotate that till that's basically upright, and then we can use the locking tool. There's 2 locking tools in the kit. So if your arrow on your sprocket on the engine, if the arrow points to the bottom of a dip, then you use this one. And if your arrow, if you see it there, there's an arrow there, right next to there. So if your arrow points to the top of a tooth, then you use this one. I think it's all fairly explanatory, because actually you can't use them the wrong way around, because if you put that one on where the arrow is, this is far too far round to even ever lock into the pin. So I think you've got no choice but to use the correct tool. Okay, so I'm going to now lock that in, and then we'll go up top. Okay, we've got that in now. That's sitting in there nice and tight, but make sure you turn it clockwise until you get it in, so that all the belts are all nice and tight in the direction that it runs. There you can see that all nice and tight in there. Okay, now we're going to lock the camshaft. So make sure this one's got an arrow. Look, if you can see there, that arrow has to be directly upright, which means you've got because you can, for every one rotation of the crank, this only goes half. So always make sure that arrow's there. Sometimes you have a cutout with little teeth in it, so that should be there. So the pin always goes in roughly at the sort of 7-8 o'clock position. So let's just check the pin goes in. Yeah, there, and it pushes right the way through. So that's completely locked. So the crank's locked, camshaft's locked. Okay, the pump, diesel pump locking pin goes there, you see, and that goes in between that little sort of U-shaped bit of the pump and a hole in the block there. So that goes in. So everything's locked now. That just goes to show actually that even 15,000 miles, everything's totally timed up correctly, so the belt hasn't stretched at all. Just undone this one with and automatically the tension will go off it, and you can see that you can actually move this by hand and just get it so it's sort of as loose as it possibly can, and just gently tighten that up by hand. Yeah, and then your belt is a lot looser. I'm going to probably take this one off here, or you've got one at the top here, idler. I'll take these off. It just makes it easy to get the belt on and off. Okay, so I've undone this. This is a 13mm socket. There we are. Just careful nothing falls down. Got the old one out. Okay, so I'm going to undo this. Looks like a 13mm nut here. Take this idler off, and then this whole the belt should come off nice and easy. Okay, got that off. That was that one. I've checked it out. There's a bit of play in there, so that would have made a bit of a noise. It's still a bit tight, so what I'm going to do is undo this, and we can just slowly. That's coming off now, so the belt will come off easy. So I'm going to just pull that. I'll get that belt off now, and I'll come back to you. Okay, the belt's off. Down here you can see the locking pin through that bit there. So now it's all off. I'm going to change the water pump, which is there, which is 3 bolts. We'll do that now. I haven't drained any fluid out of the engine, so there's going to be quite a bit of fluid that comes out. Then I'll catch what I can, and then I'll just top it up with whatever. I've got a new 5 litres of new fluid anyway. Genuine VW kit. So we've got idler gear, water pump, 2 little idler gears, the tensioning pulley, selection of new nuts and bolts, and of course the good old belt itself. Okay, there's all the new stuff, and then old stuff as I took it off at the back there, so it's quite good because you can see which nuts in the new kit go where. Anyway, so we're going to do the water pump now. Okay, we've now taken the 3 bolts out, so well, that's quite in there tight, so what I'll probably do is just tap that with a hammer. Look, and she's like loose now, so that's loosened her off, and I'll just have to slowly work that out, which I need both hands for that, so I'll do that now. Pump out, I see the coolant's all flowing out. Actually, I've just checked the pump, it feels really tight, which is says a lot for the VW part, but it's still best to replace it, then at least we know it's with a new pump. So I'll clean around the surfaces and I'll put the new one in. Try to do this one-handed, but just put it beside the old one. Just check they're the same, both sides. This might be plastic or metal on your pump, and the other one's plastic or metal, but it doesn't matter so long as it's the same shape and everything. So that's the same. So I'll put a bit of grease on here, and then we'll screw it back in. Put a little bit of grease around that seal. I've cleaned around the plate on the engine, so we'll just push the 2 in and get it sorted. Right, I've offered it up, but I like to put the 1 bolt in very loosely before I push it right in, just so that I know I've got it in the right place, and then it's just a case of pushing it straight in, and then I can do that bottom one up by hand, and I know it doesn't need to be twisted or anything. So now it's just a case of torquing them up to the correct torque, or if you're a mechanic and do it by feel, you just do it by feel. Okay, I'll do that now. Here's a little trick I use when you're trying to put some of these bolts in down there. You don't want to be dropping them really, but they've got a shoulder on them, so you can't, they're quite easy to come off the socket. So what I do is put a little bit of paper in the end of the socket, push the bolt in there, that's nice and solid, that won't come out. Then I can start hanging around down here without worrying that the thing's going to drop off, and it's only paper, so once you pull it off it might fall down or whatever. So that one's in there nice, and now I'll just torque them all up, and we'll put belt on. We'll put this one in. We'll put the new idler gear, and in the bag of bolts here it appears I don't get an extra one of those, which is off of the old one, so I'll have to use that in the new one. So we'll put that back on. That goes up here. So we'll put that in there and we'll torque that up. I think that's 20 newton meters. I've got this idler. This is on, I think, at 50 newton meters plus a quarter of a turn, so it's on there quite tight. So that's a 16 mil socket needed. Take that. Here's that. I've taken that one off. I actually get a new bolt in the packet for that, so the new bolt goes in this thing, in the new one. The looks of it's that way around. Put the new bolt in. We'll put that back in. I believe that's in here at 50 newton meters plus a quarter of a turn. So we'll do that now and get on to the next bit. So now we will look at putting the tensioner on. New tensioner on. As you can see, the old one is there. I'll get a new nut in my little packet of nuts here, but they're different sizes, so that's why it's quite good to put your old stuff out like that, so you can. So that's the larger one, which I think is 15 mil, which goes on there. So let's get this back on. This is a little securing lug. Got a bit more light. Just make sure that securing lug goes in that hole there. So make sure that securing lug goes in. Stick your nut on. Well, I'll take that off and we'll put it on underneath on the underside pulley first, and then up the top. We're going to stop putting this belt on. There's lots of different ways of skinning the cat, but I put it round there first. It's a tight place. I'm going to put it round there, and then I'm going to work back down around the water pump and around the bottom sprocket, and then we'll work all the way around the other side. See, I've got the belt on there now. I've actually undone the idler bit and pulled that out a bit. It just made it a bit easy to get on. and I'll show you where you can double check that the locating pin behind the back of the idler here is in the slot. But that's all on now, sort of halfway round, halfway on the teeth, so I'm going to now push it all the way on, and then I'll show you how you can check that little spigot thing on the tensioner is in the right place, and then we're good to tension it and start putting everything back. The belt's all on now. I wouldn't say it's an easy job. It's a bit fiddly. I mean, there's lots of different ways of doing it. I actually loosened that off so that the belt was actually on the inside as it's sitting as it should do. The way you can check the pins in is you take your phone down there, you take a picture at the back of that, and you can see that the pin is hopefully I can get, well, you take your, look there, so you can see there that the pin is in the slot, so everything's good. So what I'm going to do now is just put the last idler on there. So I'll just put that in and torque it up. To torque up the belt, so you put your, I think it's a 5 or 6 mil Allen key in there. We just turn this around. Look at the pointer there. See, so the pointer is just to the right there of that groove. So then I'll tighten up the centre nut, and then we'll turn the engine over and see if all the timing marks are in the same place. Make sure you remember to torque those up. Check that everything's torqued up and all fine, and then we can take the lock pin out the bottom, and the pin out of there, and the pin out of there. We'll turn the engine around 2 times clockwise from the nut at the bottom there, and then we'll just check the pins all fit in. If they do, we'll start putting all the covers back in and assemble everything back together again. I'm on my own, so I've rotated it twice and I've locked it in at the bottom there. You can see the lock's in at the bottom, but this pin here wouldn't quite fit in, so because of it's very difficult for me to push the pin in and rotate it down underneath at the same time. So what I've done is I've just loosened these. Yeah, these are loose, and then what I've done is put a little bit of a chamfer on the locating pin here, and that has allowed me then just to push this in and lever it, pull it up, and just move the cam a little bit, so that fits in fine now. Look, that fits in, and then I can re-torque these up nice and tight, and I'll try it again, and it should all come true. Okay, we're now going to try and do the make sure that the pin on the pump is lined up. As you can see there, it is ever so slightly out. I'm being a bit of a perfectionist. I'm going to make sure that she's completely right. So I've undone the 3 spline bolts there, and I'll try the same technique with my little chamfered locating pin. There you are. With my chamfered pin, managed to get that in. Look, that fits in. So they're all locked up now. They're all in the right place. So I'll take them out, rotate it again, and just check. Obviously, I'll tighten these up first to the correct torque, and then just check it one more time. Torque settings I've just read up again. These are all 20 plus quarter of a turn. 20, same with those on the pump. 20 plus quarter of a turn. Seems to be pretty standard. So they'll get all torqued up, and we'll just check it for the last time. Now I've rotated it, so I've taken all the pins out, the locking pin at the bottom, rotated it 2 times clockwise. Now I've put the bottom locking pin back in. Now I'm going to see whether or not these line up. So pop that one in. Yeah, that fits in nice and fine there. This one here, down here with the pump here. Yeah, well, that fits in fine. So she's all nicely timed up. So now basically it's the reversal of what we did to take it all apart. So just put all the covers on and let's get on to it.